Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining myself and Max this evening today on this just little webinar to connect. People may join us as we keep going, but I figure time to get started. As you're entering the meeting, Max has been muting people so that we don't hear whatever's going on in everybody's background. So if you can just leave it muted, that would be great so that everybody can hear Max and myself as we do this. I am Sarah. I may have met some of you from time to time. I'm the director up at Unalayee. And I certainly, if I haven't met you, would be meeting your kid this summer and would be, or have met them in a previous summer when they've been there. And yeah, I'm really glad that we've got so many of you on here today to talk with us. I would like to introduce Max. Max, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. My name is Max Pittman.
And Max is our community liaison. He also has been a staff member for us before and was a camper for many years. How many years were you a camper, Max?
9.
For 9 years. There
Yep.
you go. So Max has been part of the Unalayee family for many, many years. And so what we're going to do here is in just a moment, Max is actually just going to give a short presentation. He's going to do a little slideshow that we have that just shares a little bit more about Unalayee and what it's like for those of you that have never been to Unalayee. And after that, we will do a question and answer session. We're going to ask that people type their questions into the chat box, and then Max will read them out and we'll answer them instead of doing the verbal thing, just because with this many people, as you can imagine, verbal would get pretty crazy. And just before we start, I think that many of you probably are on this meeting because you got my email I sent out the other day about this coming summer and the uncertainty around it. But just in case anybody didn't get that email, just want to reiterate that, you know, we're all living through crazy times here. I don't think any of us have lived through something like this before, and it's challenging for all of us. And here at camp, we are staying optimistic that we're going to get to run our summer programs this summer. We believe that summer camp is going to be all the more important this summer, and we really want to do whatever we can to try and provide programs this summer. Along those lines, our medical team and our administrative team is reviewing all of our health and safety procedures and our sanitation procedures and our communicable disease plans and our screening procedures, so that if we're at a spot that we feel like we can run programs this summer, we really are going to make sure that we can do it as safely as we possibly can. But we are in a place right now where fortunately summer camp is still a couple months away, and so we're able to wait a little bit before we decide whether we're able to run those programs or not this summer. And like I said, we're staying really optimistic. The American Camp Association, who accredits us, as well as the American Camp Nurses Association, are both optimistic that camps are going to be able to run this summer in some capacity, and so we share that optimism and really are going to do everything we can to try and run them safely this summer. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Max, who is just going to do a short presentation here for anybody out there who hasn't ever been to Unalayee, that is wanting to have a little more vision of what it's like to be at camp.
Awesome. So I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Yes, I am sharing my screen. I hope folks can see this. Whoops. Here we go. Yeah, can folks see this presentation?
Thumbs up if you can see.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm getting a couple thumbs up. That's good enough for me. So Camp Unalayee is a wilderness backpacking summer camp. It's located in the Trinity Alps in Northern California. So this is one picture. There's lots of beautiful pictures throughout this presentation. The Trinity Alps are located about 5 hours north of the Bay Area, and we provide bus transportation from the Bay Area for a large number of our campers. We also have campers who come from other parts of California and Oregon as well. And these are our programs for summer 2020. So our programs are for kids ages 10 to 17. Our normal main program that most of our campers do is a 15-day wilderness base camp program. Our campers go on 2 overnight backpacking trips, or multi-night, I should say, backpacking trips during that time, and they also spend a good amount of their time in our base camp. I won't go into detail about all these other programs here. We do have a counselor in training leadership program for 16 and 17-year-olds. That's really cool. It's full for this summer, but there's a wait list. And I also want to point out that we have a family camp for all ages that happens every August. And that is a really cool program to maybe get some families and parents who wouldn't otherwise get a chance to go up and go camping, to go with their families. We offer full and partial camperships for families who need financial assistance. So especially in light of the economic hardships that are happening because of the coronavirus and all of that, we will definitely be taking that into account. And we're trying to really make sure that kids who need a wilderness experience can have one. So just a little bit about life in our base camp in the Mosquito Lake Basin. Our campers live in small co-ed family-like groups of up to 8 campers with 3 counselors. Campers and counselors cook and clean together. They make their meals together. They are sharing responsibility and learning new skills. They also sleep outside on the ground. And they live together in really tight-knit groups. We have activities in our base camp each day. This picture is a picture of the Mosquito Lake waterfront. So campers get to go swimming and boating there. We also have swimming out on the trail. So when campers go backpacking, a lot of our counselors are lifeguards. And so campers get to go swimming in all these beautiful mountain lakes. We also have fishing, and we can teach campers how to go fishing if they've never tried it before. We have lots of opportunities to do music and other performing arts. Campers can just jam or improvise, and they can also perform. So every day in the basin, we have Vespers, which is a quiet sharing time for things like poetry, quiet songs, or other sort of calm activities. And then we have campfire after that each night. And that's a little bit more rowdy, louder, group sing-alongs, skits, things like that. And campers are really encouraged to perform in both of those throughout the sessions. We also have arts and crafts. The activities I have listed up here definitely doesn't cover all of them. We have the materials for, like, I would say hundreds of different crafts. And some of those crafts campers can bring with them on backpacking trips. So things like friendship bracelets or knitting, they can get set up and then they can carry them along with them as they go hike to some cool new destination. We also have sports and games like basketball, soccer, volleyball, ultimate frisbee, anything else you can think of. We even have a basketball hoop, which is pretty cool. We have archery, and we have a separate archery area for that, so kids can safely learn how to shoot a bow and arrow if they've never tried it before. And we have rock climbing. We have our own rock wall. They're pictured on the left. And we also have day hikes and sometimes overnight hikes that are rock climbing themed, so campers can go try climbing on some real rocks as well. And this brings me to Special Day. Special Day is one day each session. It's day 8 out of 15 days, so it's the center of the session. And it involves a surprise theme that the campers don't know about in advance. All the counselors know, it's a big secret. The counselors will dress up, and the campers usually wake up to the counselors in weird, wacky costumes, acting out their whatever character they are. And we have themed activities and meals related to whatever that theme is throughout the day. So some themes that I can remember are like Escape from the Zoo Day, and everyone was a zoo animal that ran around. We've had things like Alice in Wonderland Day. It goes on. There's lots of costumes and competitions. During Special Day, campers can win prizes, and it's sort of a chance for the whole camp to bond together. And then I'm gonna switch gears and talk a little bit about life out on the trail. So all of our campers go on backpacking trips. They go on between 3 and 30 days, depending on the program. This year, there's not actually a 30-day program, but some years there are. And these are some pictures that might give you a sense of what it's like out on the trail. Campers get to swim in lakes, climb to the top of ridges, really challenge themselves, both physically, emotionally, socially. We do lots of fun trail cooking things like making pizza or cinnamon rolls or other tasty things that you would be surprised you can cook with just a campfire. And you really bond with your group of campers and counselors. It's a sort of an intense experience to backpack, and so you end up really getting to know the people you're with and supporting each other, sort of like a family. These are some pictures of just some of the places you might see out on the trail with Unalayee. And that is pretty much all of the information that I wanted to give. So we're gonna open it up for questions. Like we said, we'll put it in the chat. So if you could send a chat to me, that would be great. And I will read those questions aloud and can give you all a little bit to think up your questions if you have any. Thank you. Great. So I see one question, which is there snow up there in the summer?
That is a great question, which I would love to talk about. So how much snow is at camp in the summer depends a lot on how much snow we've gotten during the winter. So the short answer is yes, there is snow at camp during the summer. But how much really depends on how snowy the winter season has been. So this winter has not been very snowy. From my best estimate, right now there's maybe around 3 feet of snow at camp, which is pretty small for the beginning of April. So come the start of our programs at the beginning of July, we're still going to have a little bit of snow on our really, really high elevations and our short, shady, protected north-facing slopes. So for those campers that are there during first session in July, there will be a little bit of opportunity to get to play with snow and have what we call zing cones, which is really just Kool-Aid and snow, but we call them zing cones. In other years, though, where we have a higher snowpack during the winter, we sometimes have a considerable amount of snow even in our basin during first session, and snow out on the trail all throughout the summer. So the short answer is yes, and the long answer is how much really depends on the year. And unfortunately, this year is going to be on the lower side. And I say unfortunately because I love playing in the snow. I think it's great.
And there's a question that relates a little bit to this, relating to weather, which is about using tents if it rains, or what kind of protections we have for weather.
Right. So if it rains in base camp, then the first go-to is in every campsite that the kids stay in, there are tarps set up, which the campers can elect to sleep under any night. But if it's raining, then they must go sleep under these tarps, which are already set up. And in really, really bad weather conditions, we also have platform tents. We call them storm tents, which groups can move to, which are more waterproof for sleeping under in really, really bad rain conditions. When they're out in the backcountry on the trail, the staff members carry backcountry tarps with them that they set up for the campers to sleep under if it rains.
Okay, so I have a couple questions relating to like the refund policy and changes relating to that because of the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. So just what the refund policy is and what the policies are relating to coronavirus.
Yeah, for sure. So if we cancel our programs or part of our programs or whatever it is due to the coronavirus, we'll be giving full refunds to everybody who was in the programming. If we don't cancel our programs, but you have a concern about your camper's particular health when it comes to coming to our programs, then we would defer to our normal, like, what's that called, sickness refund policy, which is that you would receive everything except for the $100 deposit in return for that. Or we always offer that you can defer your entire payment, whatever you've made so far, to the following year, and we'll just carry it over to your next registration.
And following up on that, just about how the camp or no camp decision will be made for this summer.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned kind of at the top, we're following it closely. Two what is it? Governing bodies that are really important to making this decision for us are the U.S. Forest Service, which issues our permit to operate on their land, as well as the Trinity County Health Department, which issues our permit just to operate as a residential summer camp each year. And so in order for us to operate, we have to have the go ahead from them. We've been in contact with both of them, but both of them have not made any guidance as far as programs in or at the end of June or July go yet, understandably, as it's a way out. So the first thing is going to be what kind of go or no go they give us, because we have to have authorization from both of them to go. But as well, in our whole calculus here is if they're saying, yes, we can run our programs, we're doing an in-depth analysis of just whether we can keep kids safe up there, considering what the resources are, that resources we actually have to keep kids safe, which comes to screening, which comes to medical supplies, which comes to staffing, as well as what the community resources are. Like if we were to get somebody up there sick, how would the community health resources be able to help us with that? So these are the kind of like factors that are going into making this decision. In all likelihood, we probably will be making a decision about first session come the beginning of next month, and perhaps the whole summer even, depending on our communication with those different governing bodies that I spoke about previously.
Mm-hmm. So there's a question about how many groups of 8 are typically out there. This is for a 10-day trail camp, but maybe we should just talk about how many groups there are in general.
Yeah, for sure. So in every session we have between 13 and 15 groups of 8. And some of those groups are in our basin for, most of the time. They go out just on 2 short 2-night and 3-night trips. And then some of those groups are out in the backcountry for a full 15 days or for 11 or 12 of those days. But the general answer to that question is it's between 13 and 15 groups of 8 campers during one session.
There's a question about fishing poles for campers to borrow. That's an easy one. The answer is yes.
Although then I guess the second is, although campers are welcome to bring their own too if they prefer.
Yes. I don't see any other questions. If anyone feels that I missed them, please keep messaging. Here's one. Could the earlier sessions of backcountry trail programs possibly be postponed to later in the summer?
Yeah, absolutely. One scenario that I'm gaming out, or I should say we are gaming out, is depending on, again, the guidance from the county health officials, et cetera, is delaying our programs and trying to stack especially our trail programs later in the summer. So perhaps having a delayed start to no programs would start till July 15th, or maybe even in a worst case scenario, all programs would not start until August 1st. And that we would have a strong emphasis on our trail programs, which we can support more of at that time, and a little less emphasis on our base camp programs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all the questions I have, unless we'll give it a minute or so more in case someone else wants to ask something.
Feel free to ask any like follow-ups to what I've said as well, of course.
This one is whether the trail programs are in smaller groups.
So the trail programs are not in smaller groups from a living group standpoint. All of the groups that we have up there have 8 campers in them and then 2 staff members that go out on the backpacking trips with them. But if we're talking about in relation to, say, social distancing, not gathering in big groups like that, then the answer is absolutely yes, because in our base camp program, we have multiple different times during the day in which we're having all, 100 plus people that are in our base camp coalesce in one space. Whereas in our trail programs, you only have your group of 10 that are together the whole entire time. So the kind of exposure that's involved with a program like that is definitely way less than what would be in our normal base camp program.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you were thinking with that question, which is clearly something that I've been thinking.
Yeah. Any other questions? I'm not quite sure if we got the whole question for that. There we go. Sarah, can you see that?
I can see that
Yeah.
question. So I think that our goal would be that if we feel that we can't support our base camp programs, as we've talked about, that we would try to switch as many of those kids to trail programs as possible. I think the major caveat with that would be that a trail program might be too intensive for some of the kids that have signed up for base camp, and especially the younger ones. And so we might want to, in that case, especially the younger, less experienced campers, where we'd be having individual conversations with families to decide if a trail program was really the right choice for their camper or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I think the goal would be to switch as many kids as we could from a base camp program to a trail program, if that's the model that we took.
And I would also mention that even though our trail programs are challenging and aren't always great for the brand new backpacker or a younger kid, it also can be a great opportunity for kids who haven't been backpacking before. It really depends on the individual kid and where they're at, both physically and emotionally.
Absolutely. And we would, in a scenario like this, certainly be planning to lead less intensive trail programs than some of the ones we normally do. But they still can be more intensive for particularly young and inexperienced kids.
Mm-hmm. Any final questions?
Great. Well, then if we don't have any other questions, as always, I would invite you anytime that you do have a question, always to email me or email Max, and we will email you back. My email is director@gocampu.com, and Max's is max@gocampu.com. Pretty easy ones to remember. So you definitely can follow up to us if you ever need anything. And we will be in contact with all of you shortly to give you update of where we're going for the summer, and really want to thank all of you for joining us tonight and being part of this webinar. It was wonderful to see your faces and hear your questions and just feel your optimism for this summer as well, because we're doing our best to stay optimistic, and we're glad that all of you are doing the same.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Goodbye.
All right. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye.